Welcome to the Business Legends Podcast, where we interview business leaders and entrepreneurs so that you can learn from their successes, pump up your own inspiration, and meet the people that make change happen. I'm the host of the show, Reese Arlen, along with my co-host, who is not nearly as caffeinated as me this morning, Christian. Say hello.
Hello. Today we have our favorite guest in the world, Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, we do not. We do not have Nancy Pelosi on account of the fact that I'm here for starters.
I've been called worse.
I don't know that that's possible, but Christian, I have to tell you something. Today, I'm always excited for Business Legends, but today I'm super excited for two reasons. The first of which is my new red shirt. And you forgot to tell me how good I look in it today,
oh, yes,
just for the record.
Yeah.
Thank you. But today we are joined by Mr. John Bradford, who not only is the founder of Pet Screening, the coolest thing that we're going to talk about today, but he's also one of the people in our House of Representatives, and he represents district number 98. Is that correct?
You got it.
Oh my God, I got the right district. John, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Well, hey, thank you for having me on your podcast.
Absolutely.
I can tell we're going to have fun.
Oh, we're gonna have so
That's
much
important
fun.
to me.
It is very important. I'm on my second cup of coffee, and it's now 11:10 on a Friday, so you know this podcast is about to go down. So, John, tell us a little bit about business. So just to give our listeners a little bit of backstory. So we're involved with a group called Entrepreneurs Organization, or EO for short, and we got connected with you, because we're annoying and we connect with people like that. But, you came into EO about 15 years ago. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And at the time, you were in real estate. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start there, and let's start up. So tell us about your real estate company, and we'll start with it.
Yeah, so, life takes you down different roads. I actually was an engineer at ExxonMobil, got an MBA, went to IBM in sales, and took my bonus money and said, well, instead of putting it into the markets, I thought I would start buying rental homes. And I have 4 children. They're growing up very quickly. At the time, I did not have 4 children. We were pregnant with our first, but I thought I will go buy a rental house. Instead of doing a 529 traditional sort of college savings plan, I thought I'll just go buy a rental house. That will be my version of a 529. And this was before the fancy phones we have now.
Remember, this is young entrepreneurs. What is a 529?
Yeah.
529. Great point. Yeah,
Yep.
529 is a deferred savings plan for college accounts where the gains you don't get taxed on. It's just
When you have children, young entrepreneurs.
Smart financial choices.
And while I may be older than some of your listeners, even I was like, 529B seems like a slower way to make money. So I thought real estate, right? It's levered earnings. You put a small amount down, the real estate appreciates, kind of a time-tested asset. So I started buying rental houses, and I would get up every Saturday morning with a map because GPSs were $1,000. There's a thing called a TomTom. I don't know if you remember these.
Wow, Garmin. Barely. I remember Garmin.
Well, so TomTom was pre-Garmin, but it was around that era. And I mean, one of these things was $1,000, and I'm a pretty cheap guy. I'm like, I'm not paying $1,000. So I had a map. I'd put sticky notes on it.
Oh, nice.
I'd go to Chick-fil-A Saturday mornings, get a biscuit, sweet tea. Off I go following my map, looking at foreclosures.
Gotcha.
And I went to real estate school at night because I wanted to represent myself. Started because I thought, why am I going to pay some broker commissions when I can just go make my own commissions and put that towards my price? So because in North Carolina, if you want your commissions, you got to be a licensed agent.
Yeah.
So I started buying rental houses. I think I bought 4. And then I said, well, I'll just rent them. And next thing I know, I was at IBM at this time. So I had other IBM colleagues who said, well, we want to buy a rental house. And this thing started to take off. So I had 4 houses that I owned, and I put renters in myself. But other IBMers started sending me their desire to have one. So I'd go find a house. I'm not joking. This is a silly thing. I think I was making $30,000 a month.
Wow.
In commissions, finding foreclosures for friends who then I turned around and put renters in, and then managed them for 8 to 9 to 10% a month. I'm like, this is an amazing business opportunity.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I started that in 2005.
Do you feel like you fell backwards into that kind of just because you were doing it, you were interested in it, or
just I did it because I was doing it for myself.
Yeah.
I think the best entrepreneurs, you know your lane.
Yep.
And my lane was buying houses, and some I'd flip. I mean, I'm pretty handy. I was doing my own pine straw. I caught fluffing and puffing pine straw. I was doing my own painting. I was doing my own pressure washing. I'm a very hands-on guy, and again, you'll hear me talk a lot. I'm very fiscal conservative in many ways. Yeah. Why pay someone if you can do it yourself? Sure. I'm a hustler. I'm scrappy. I think true entrepreneurs are kind of that
all
way.
Scrappy.
Yeah. I mean, if I can save $100 by doing something myself, I will. Now, I've changed a little bit since then because then you start going, what is my time worth?
Right.
But that's how I started property management. And I grew this company on the side because there was no conflict with IBM, right? Technology.
Yeah.
But I left IBM in 2010. So I did it for kind of like 7 years on the side. And I partly because I had I had a child now, right?
Yeah.
And IBM was a damn good living. I mean, I was doing really well, and most people would not leave that to chase their own dream. But I'm like, man, I think I'm proving it. I'm making $30,000 a month peddling commissions. I can do this. And so I finally left and had that company, and that's how I got into EO, because I qualified. EO has I guess minimum revenue requirements, and got into EO, and my eyes were open to a whole new world of entrepreneurs, which has been amazing.
Absolutely. So you went from so you're 2010 IBM, and then you have the real estate company as well, and then so the next step was then pet screening. Is that
yeah?
Okay.
So it was a step in between. So I left IBM in 2010. So now I'm all in at my my property management company. We weren't necessarily doing like traditional brokerage like you think of Allen Tate or something like that. We were just doing property management. But I was in Chamber of Commerce. I was a parks commissioner, which was an appointed role. Cornelius is where I live, and we have an amazing parks department. For a small town, we really have an amazing program. And I thought, well, I mean, I like our trails, so I said I'd like to be on the parks board. It was selected by the mayor. I was appointed, so it was not an elected thing. And I was in the Chamber of Commerce on the board there, and then someone said, you ought to think about running for town council. And this was 2011.
Okay.
And so I had coffee, and I'm doing a little quote. I don't drink coffee, but they wanted to do coffee. So we went to a little restaurant, Cornelius, where we had coffee. I had sweet tea. Don't mind saying that.
Yeah.
And they said, you ought to run for town council. And I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. I should do that. So I called my wife and said, hey, I'm going to run downtown and file to run for town council or town commissioner. It cost me $5 to do this.
Wow.
That's what, at the time, I don't know what it costs now. It's still not very much.
Yeah.
I had to pay $5
Probably
cash.
10 accounting for inflation.
Probably accounting for inflation. So $5 later, and a trip to Charlotte to the Board of Elections, I had filed for town commissioner.
And what did your wife say about all this, by the way?
Well, she was very supportive.
Okay.
My wife and I met in high school.
Oh,
and
wow.
so we've known each other a long time. We're both Clemson grads. We're from South Carolina, so both went to Clemson. And my high school teachers said, "Oh, he's going to be governor of South Carolina." I didn't think that by any means, but that was kind of like I was in student government. I mean, I was
always interested.
I was just I was a pretty good kid. I didn't get in trouble. The moms always loved me. It was the daughters that didn't, but the moms always, right. It's one of those kids, right? Mom's like, "Oh, please,
please date this one," and they're
right.
like, "Oh, he's too nice," or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah, gotcha.
So my wife knew which I think she was getting in for. She was very supportive, and always has been supportive of it.
Yeah,
and
it makes a difference.
It does, especially. Well, now with my role, it does make a huge difference. Back then, town role, you're always home. But I won that race. You want to guess how many votes I won by that race?
Probably 1 million if I had to guess.
14.
More like 1 billion.
Yeah, billion.
Yeah, 1 by 2.
1 by 2.
And I voted for myself. So really,
wow.
and
you
so
won by 1.
I literally won by 2 votes.
Yeah.
And so really won, right? Because I vote. You got to vote for yourself.
Now, out of how many? Just out of
I think that year maybe 1,100 got you on the town
but still,
board.
that's as close as
so,
it gets.
So it was a squeaker, right? And I don't think had I lost, I don't think I would have run again. I would have said, well, I tried, because I wasn't really. I was compelled to do it. Because I'm a business guy and I felt like we need good business leaders in government, right? Kind of pragmatic people. I'm glad I won because, since then,
launched into more
things have gone well.
Stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was 2000, that 11, 13, 14 era. Pet screening, I didn't start until 2016. So even in between that was when the legislature came up.
Gotcha.
When Tom Tillis ran for United States Senate.
Yeah.
He was on he was our Speaker of the House of North Carolina at the time. He was my representative. So I ran for his role and won, and then I won again, and then that's when I had the idea of pet screening. It was in 2016.
Okay. And so how did and I'm just trying to give our listeners a little bit of like who's John Bradford, and then I'm gonna grill you. We're gonna go into I'm just kidding. So how did pet screening come about? So it seems like you were pulled towards this career in politics, if you will, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I have this idea, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean the roads really. It's amazing how things come together when I think of the entrepreneurs and how you finally get to a lane. You go, wow, it's kind of strange. For me, because I was managing rental houses, I saw the complexities of dealing with pets. I'm a huge pet lover.
Yeah.
And I don't think all pit bulls are dangerous. I don't think all
I agree 100%.
Rottweilers, German Shepherds. There's kind of this list of dogs that the industry typically says no to.
Correct.
And so I ran my company where we were always pet friendly. We'll call it pet inclusive. How you like that buzzword?
Hey,
It's true. It's true. It does sound a bit political, but I don't mean it to be. But we were very pet
marketing
inclusive.
language.
There you
Marketing
go.
language. That's all it is.
So we allowed all pets, but I saw a lot of companies that still limited certain breeds, and I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if we had more data on a particular dog? So take a pit bull just for a moment. I have friends that save pit bulls, right? And these are very talented individuals who get these pit bulls. They get them microchipped. They get them vaccinated. These are not street fighting pit bulls, right?
Chopped ears and stuff.
So these are not the dogs that you have to worry it's going to necessarily attack someone. Now, can a pit bull bite? Sure, but so can a Chihuahua, a golden retriever. All dogs bite. And so the premise of pet screening was, wouldn't it be neat if you had more data? But I didn't just start it. I kind of parked that for a moment, put a pin in it. So then in the legislature, I was the guy that people were coming to for tenant landlord related law. It was very natural in Raleigh. If you're in healthcare, you're on healthcare committees.
Right.
If you know real estate, the agencies are going to come to you. So it was a very natural fit. So as I'm doing more and more real estate related legislation, one issue that kept popping up was fake emotional support animals and fake service animals. Remember the airlines, the peacock that tried to get on the airplane?
Yeah.
There's the viral photo where there's a peacock literally sitting on a handle of someone's roll-on baggage. And I think that picture is what probably put people over the edge going, that's crazy.
Right.
A peacock? And it was being claimed as an emotional support animal. Now, granted, that was on an airplane, which is not housing, but the airlines operate under the Air Carrier Access Act, which is, I won't get into the weeds there. But the point is, housing has been dealing with this challenge. So people are calling my office going, we need your help with this issue. And so I kind of thought about these two things and thought, man, I need to create a company to help property managers navigate the complexities of pets and assistance animals. And so I started Googling, go to GoDaddy, looking for domains. And pet screening was, everything that came up for pet screening was a screen for pet doors, like a screen.
Yeah, like a doggy door. Or
something. Doggy door, like the screen. And I was like, well, pet screening. We're screening pets. And so I bought the domain for a whopping, I don't know, $10 or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's how pet screening was born.
That's so interesting because it's like you have politics lets you see all the problems.
Yeah.
And what do businesses make money off of? Creating a solution to a problem. That's a genius place to be for good business ideas.
Well, and the best legislation comes from the people who have feet on the street who see the problems.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like regulatory reform. I've been chairman and vice chairman of regulatory reform, and I think I'm on the committee now. I have a lot of committees. I don't remember which one I'm on. Pretty sure I'm reg reform again, but I've been on reg reform for a long time, and we have a lot of regulations on the books, but a lot of times you clean those up because someone calls you and says, I can't do this because this regulation won't let me. You're like, well, why is that even there? It's kind of an age-old regulation.
Shouldn't
Let's go
exist.
clean it up, right?
Yep.
And so you're right.
Wow, that's interesting.
And I'm not a lawyer. We have a lot of lawyers in Raleigh, and they're great. I have nothing against lawyers. I just think we need business-minded legislators who can say, okay, here's the problem. Here's a suggested solution. Now, let's get the lawyers to write the language, but let's not wordsmith ourselves here. Let's not go too crazy. Let's keep it simple, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes keep it simple, stupid. And so, it's been a good fit for me.
Yeah. So, 2016, Pet Screening then is born.
Yep.
And so something that I often ask our guests, it's a bit of a personal / invasive question, but do you feel like one of the reasons that you started it is just because you saw the problem, or was it because you saw the problem and you loved it? And what I mean by that is you're obviously a pet lovers. By the way, John's email signature says "woof regards" instead of "with regards," which I love. But do you feel like you had a passion that kind of put you over the edge to start Pet Screening?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I love pets in general. I told you my own company sort of practiced this pet inclusivity kind of concept. I knew people would probably be more open-minded to all breeds if they had more data. Being a legislator, I had the confidence around understand. I mean, I'm a lawmaker, so I better understand what the heck I'm doing, right? And
sure.
At least you hope
so.
I think I fall into that bucket.
Yeah.
And so I really understand the Fair Housing Act, and so property managers. And I know this because my company was sizable, and I didn't want my property managers having to make the decision of, does this fall? How does this? Could we get into have a discrimination complaint against us? So we asked the wrong questions, or we didn't treat this right, and so therefore a lot of companies just put their hands up in the air and said, well, we'll just if you say it's an assistance animal, if you say it is, it must be, and we're not even going to question it. And the challenge was it starts to bring a bad reputation to the people that actually legitimately need these animals. And so I had the confidence to just go create a product, and I'm very passionate about it because, I mean, we are we are changing the industry. Like, it is amazing. We are changing the industries. More companies are allowing more pets. I have this thing that I trademarked called a FIDO Score.
Okay.
Everyone knows a FICO score.
Right.
We did FIDO Score because it's like, oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
So we trademarked that, and so now...
Does that stand for anything, by the way, or just
no.
FIDO? Okay.
Yeah, FIDO.
We're going to come up with an acronym up here, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
To be honest, FIDO is the only part I remembered about the business name.
There you go.
So like he was like, who we had today? I was like, oh, the guy who owns the FIDO Score.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what I remembered.
That's right. Yeah. So FIDO, FIDO, of course, an affectionate name being a dog. But we have people go, well, FIDO's not cats. And I don't want to forget my cat owners.
Right.
But we do have a FIDO score, which
Yeah.
does apply to cats too. But that score is not about the dog being good or bad. Like I don't think our role is to try to determine if your dog is good or bad. Our role is to try to collect data to show that, what household related risk. I'll just pick on a puppy.
Right.
And a puppy, pick the America's dog, Golden Retriever.
Golden Retriever.
You can have a male Golden Retriever puppy. We all would agree, a great dog.
Yep.
But it's going to have a relatively lower FIDO score because it brings a risk. Well, the risk is it's going to chew on your baseboard. It's going to not be potty trained.
Yep.
We're not suggesting for 1 second that your dog is a bad dog. We're trying to show the property manager that, hang on, there's a lower FIDO score here. Here are the reasons why. So all it does is let them adjust their pet fees to be more commensurate with the risk they're taking.
Yeah.
And as that dog grows and becomes more mature, our FIDO score adaptively changes and increases and gets better. And
Brilliant.
so it's just trying to give all the different scenarios an opportunity. And I'll pick on a Rottweiler. Rottweilers typically are told no. Yeah, a Rottweiler is a dog. It has the propensity. If it bites, it's going to hurt. But they're still great dogs. The idea is if you have a Rottweiler that's got a vet, it's microchipped, it's vaccinated, it's maybe been to Canine Good Citizen School, this is the type of dog you should want to rent to because I bet you their owner is going to be an amazing tenant or resident. Now, are they willing to pay more? Yes, they will because they get it. They have a Rottweiler. They're probably willing to pay $50 a month in pet rent than say no.
Right.
And then have to give their dog away.
Yeah. It's interesting this comes up. So I just recently, I'm renting a condo in Charlotte. I live in Mooresville, but I'm renting a condo in Charlotte. And when I applied for it, my first question was, do you guys allow Siberian Huskies here? And legitimately, like my hand to God, and Christian definitely knows this, but if they would have said no, I said, see you later, have a good day.
Absolutely.
I mean, and the pet rent doesn't matter to me, whatever it costs.
Because it's your child. I mean, it's truly...
8 years in, baby.
It is. Man, let me tell you what, it is. People, I mean, you've never lived until you've been loved by an animal and loved an animal. I believe that wholeheartedly. And so yeah, it's been a great passion and it's been amazing. It's just I pinch myself about it.
You don't have the Bell Partners as a customer, do you?
I feel like we have a lot of customers, and I don't know. I feel like we might have some Bell assets, but I think we're all over the place now. We're growing quick. We don't have them all.
Yeah.
But it is fun. I travel.
I got a referral for you.
Well, it's funny. I travel. My God, I'm in weird places sometimes for just different things. And someone asks me about my company, and I'll say PetScan. They're like, wait a minute. I use that. I'm like, excuse me? And I'm thinking, let me test this. And then they did. They legitimately used my company in some random elevator discussion in Nevada. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
That is
That's
really
gotta feel good.
Oh, it feels really amazing.
I bet
It
it
really
does.
feels good. And that's happening more and more and more, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
we're nationwide. We're in all 50 states, and it's just been fun.
Wow, it's just incredible to think about that. One thing that we were talking about before the podcast, and I definitely want to mention it on air, is we were talking a little bit about company culture. And so one of the things that you said was pet inclusivity. Another example that you gave me, I think Christian arrived a little bit later, but instead of saying like your employees, you say your pack.
Our pack, yeah.
Your pack. Can you think of any other cultural types of language that you guys use, or anything from a fundamental aspect?
Yeah, I'll tell you, we have an amazing culture, and I'll take zero credit for it. I mean, maybe despite the creativity and the names that I've come up with, the reality is culture can't just be what you say. It has to be something that's living and evolving. And one, we're pet friendly. I mean, it'd be hard to be a pet company and not a pet company and not allow pets.
Yeah.
So we designed our office.
Ultimate hypocrisy.
Now,
would
this
be,
is true story. So people love our office, and they go, "This is brilliant." Our cubicles, our workspaces, are privacy fences that I had ripped down to 4 feet instead of 6 feet.
Oh, wow.
But they're all privacy fences because we have this outdoor theme. I bought a retro camper. We have picnic tables with umbrellas. It's like the whole theme is like it's outside.
It's like a dog park
Right.
inside or something almost. Yeah.
But shamelessly, as creative as it was, I was also driven by the fact that I could build these cubicles for $400 a piece.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So
And
it
I had
worked
to
both
build,
ways.
and I had to build 60 of them.
Yeah.
And I had called, one of our EO buddies, I'm gonna draw a blank, but he owns Carolina Office Solutions, and he sells used furniture.
Oh, okay.
And
I know him.
yeah.
Oh God, we'll think about it off
Yes,
here. We'll put it in the.
Super nice guy,
description.
and but even the used furniture equipment, believe it or not, like a used cubicle was still. I mean, it was like $2,500.
Yeah.
And I'm so again cost conscious. I'm like, I'm just gonna hire a carpenter, and we're gonna make these things.
Yeah.
Now, I was saving money, but also trying to do something creative, and it has really worked well. And we now have 100 of these things,
Right.
all over the place, and we have dogs in the office running around. We have this camper, but I would say we have three. We have three core values. We say everyone deserves an opportunity, and we say that because we do a lot with the Down syndrome community. We have our own grant program called Down for Pets, and we take our profits and we try to find individuals with Down syndrome who could use a companion animal, and not the legal definition of companion animal, but just an animal, a pet,
Sure.
right?
Pet, yeah.
And so the only way you can get the grant is if you go adopt a dog or a cat out of a shelter. Like we don't want you buying a breeder's dog. Nothing wrong with that at all. But my goal was to help someone with Down syndrome who wanted a pet, and then help give them the money to go adopt one, and then help pay for kind of its first year of care, from health, the health bills, vet bills, food, et cetera. And so we've given away several grants doing that. So we think, and we also believe in hiring, people who we don't hire. We try to hire people with college degrees, but I have a few employees that don't. And people go, "Wow!" And I'm like, "Yeah, you know why? Because not everyone has the opportunity to go to college,
Right.
and we have some amazing employees who absolutely could have gone to college, but for whatever reason they didn't." But we said everyone deserves an opportunity, and these folks have not only come onto the scene, but they've also received promotions.
Right.
So everyone deserves an opportunity. We tell you to come make your mark, and that's actually an EO has a make your mark thing.
Not in the way that pets do, just for the record.
yeah, that's right.
Maybe
Yeah,
also
yeah.
still in
Maybe also
That's right.
that,
They can. The idea being make your mark, make it positive while you're on this earthly place. Try to do good, right? And then the last one is laugh more and have fun. Like that's incredibly important to me. We laugh a lot. We have fun. I'm always up to antics. If I post something on Slack that's sort of innocuous, everyone wants to read way into it. Go, what's he up to?
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
And I'll give clues, and I have a lot of fun. So we have an amazing culture, and I'm grateful. And we know it's a good culture when you have employees referring friends to come work for us.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I'm very fortunate. But I take little credit for it. It's really the pack does it.
The pack.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
So
there's
cool.
there's something different about your business than most of our guests. Most of our guests break into the market of a market that already exists.
Yeah.
You took a big risk and jumped into a market that didn't exist.
We created one, literally.
Yeah, no competitors until now, till recently.
Yeah, and as I've told people, I said, I mean,
He's an early adapter like I am.
yeah, I'm like, where can you be a part of something that's never been done before? I mean, short of cancer research and some things that have, there's a lot of things that have not been done before. I get that. But typically it's making a product better or reinventing something. We have created our own category, something new, and obviously people got their eyes on us, and so along with that comes people that want to emulate us. But it shows that we're onto something.
That's just recently, right?
Yeah, very recently.
The crazy thing about usually emulators, is that the right word?
What?
I said that right.
Emulators?
I think I said it right.
Yeah, people who like want to emulate you
Usually what happens when that happens, it actually the leading pack
can accelerate.
actually accelerates because they're giving you brand awareness all across the country, and then when they search it, they don't find them because they're new.
Right.
They find you.
Right.
So usually they build you by trying to attack you.
And we've seen that. I will just say that I tell my team, because they all get all fired up, which is great. You see them get all fired up, and I'm like, well, a couple of things. One, it make you keep your pencil sharper. Two, there's plenty of room out there, right? For every McDonald's, there's a Wendy's and a Burger King, right? And you're seeing chicken tender places pop up all over the place. Zaxby's, Chick-fil-A, Slim Chickens, all kinds of competitors. So there's room. And I welcome it. I don't mind it. I think it validates what we're doing, and there's plenty of business to go around.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk politics.
Yes.
So how do you feel about? No. We're not going to slip into that. We do not have enough time, but I would love to. So how do you? So you've been involved with politics. You've been our representative since what year?
First year, 2015.
2015. Okay, and then so you told us before, and you told us you were comfortable speaking about
Yeah,
this.
of
So
course,
I got to
yeah.
bring it up.
Yeah.
So you've lost once,
Yes, I've lost once.
and so
Only once and never again.
only once and never again.
Well, you never know.
So our listeners know that I'm hyper competitive. I always want to win. It does not matter what it is. If you challenge me to chug off with this coffee, I would want to win. It's just who I am. So back then when you lost, Did that fuel you up? Did that gas you up? 'Cause you went back and won.
Yeah,
so
sure.
can you speak to our listeners about that? Because I think
Yeah.
it's very important for people to know that that wasn't a failure. That was just a speed bump.
It was an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So to your point before we started the podcast here, I had won 2 terms and I was running for a 3rd term. And it was a cycle. It was a strange cycle. I mean, right now, I'll share this with your listeners. So I represent part of Mecklenburg County. There are 17 legislators from Mecklenburg County, 17. Right now, I am the only Republican.
Wow.
Okay, so 16 are Democrats and
lonely
1 Republican.
room, man. It's a
now,
lonely room.
Right, and I was the only Republican last session as well. So I'm now, in my 2nd term as being the only Republican. But back during the cycle in which I lost, there were either 6 or 7 Republicans. And that cycle, we all lost.
Wow.
Every Republican. And in Wake County, which is kind of, they're like a Mac, right? They're as big as we are. In fact, with the new census, I think there are 10,000 more people in Mecklenburg.
Wow.
They had 4 or 5 Republicans. They all lost. And I guess you could say it was a comfort in numbers, but it was an interesting cycle.
For sure.
Now, I'm a competitor, and I did not like losing. But let me tell you what I did. I called my opponent, congratulated her, because that's what you do. You have to do that.
Yep.
I did not burn anything down. I did not vandalize anything. Sure, was I think I probably lost a few pounds. I didn't cherish it. But I was trying to show my kids that sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. And I felt like more eyes were on me at that loss than ever for my previous victories, which I'd won 4 prior races, 2 at town council, 2 at state level. I will say, and I'm God works in mysterious ways, not to bring religion to your podcast, but if there was ever a time in my political career to have been sent packing, those 2 years were really well timed, and here's why.
Wow.
I was dealing with one of our daughters. We were dealing with a new healthcare issue that was starting to surface. We didn't know what it was. I am glad that I was able to be home because I'm in Raleigh a lot, 4 days a week of every week when we're in session for 7 months at a time. Yeah. So I'm home not very much, but for those 2 years I was home a lot, because I had no place to go.
Right.
I also was only 1.5 years into pet screening, so I was able to just immerse myself into pet screening and just really drive that baby. So I dusted the old boots off and said I did not want to go home that way. I was not ready to be finished. So I ran again, and I actually beat the person that beat me. Now, interestingly, she did not call and congratulate me.
Oh, that's what I was about to ask.
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's so interesting.
But that's okay, right? It is what it is. And so I won, but that 2-year break really put my company on a trajectory that I don't know if we would have achieved. Maybe it would have, and maybe this is a guy trying to find the lemonade out of the lemons. I don't know. It's part of my journey. I think it is. I think it's okay to talk about it.
Well, I think that piece right there is what makes entrepreneurs anyway.
Yeah.
Because even if you can never know what would happen if you just stepped right instead of left.
That's right.
Yeah.
But the fact that you stepped left and lost and then turned that into lemonade and made it a positive encounter and grew.
That's right.
Who cares? That's the grind that matters right there.
And I think I'll be known for the guy that may have lost, but he came back. And when he came back, he didn't. And even when he left, he was a gentleman about it. I was not. I just said we didn't get him, guys. And we only lost by I think 400 votes out of 40,000 votes. We lost by 400. It wasn't it wasn't like some whooping. We just lost. But I don't care if it's 1 vote. I told you before the podcast, my first election I won by 2 votes.
Yeah.
And I voted for myself.
Yeah.
And that was a town council roll, only 1,100 votes. But the point is, I've won close elections. I've lost close elections. But now, of course, me and this individual, we've run against each other 3 times.
Oh, wow.
So she beat me once. I beat her twice.
Oh, good, good.
She's already said she's running against me a 4th time.
Yeah. And you'll be ready.
You know what? I will be. I will. But I always take it very seriously. And this is not my seat. It belongs to the people. It's not my seat. It is never my seat. And I feel like state government needs me more than I need it. I'm happy to do it. But I promise you, I know what it's like to go home. Yeah. And if I have to go home again, I have lots to do.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the mentality things that I want to ask you about. So for instance, my father, one of the things that he's always taught me. By the way, we still play pool together. We'll play pool together this evening in a pool league, and we're fierce. We're the Arlens are fierce, and he says, be humble in victory, be more humble in defeat, be fierce, and don't apologize for it, you know? And so that's
very,
kind of
very good guidance.
Yeah, I
Very
mean,
good
that's kind of how we feel about it. And the next tenet of that is always believe you can win. And I always believe I can win, no matter where I'm at, no matter where my back is.
Yeah, and you can't win if you don't try.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's so important, such important life lessons. So what was there something particularly that you had lost? And it's not very common for people to run again after losing. So other than your opponent, who apparently wants some more John, but so what was it that compelled you to run again? Because as you said, you were busy. I mean, you had pet screening going on. You know, you have everything going on with your daughter. Like what compelled you to say, you know what, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna win?
You know, I'm a big believer in gut instinct, and when I lost, I knew I did not want to go out that way. I was not ready to be done that way, honestly. And I want to go out on my own terms. And I told myself I'm going to run again. Now, I'm dealing with an ever-changing district.
Of course.
Okay, I'm the last Republican, and it's not getting any more red. It's getting less red.
Sure.
And I'm an urban Republican. People at the polls say, "Oh, you're a Republican and Democrat." And I'm like, "Well, I'm a reasonable Republican."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, that's a new term." I'm like, "Well, it's really not. We do have reasonable Republicans and reasonable Democrats. You just never hear about them because no one publishes that information. It's not sexy enough." Right?
Yeah.
And so, but I am a capitalist, smaller government, return taxes to the people, lower taxes, American dream, work hard. I mean, that's just kind of the way I'm wired. And I know a lot of Democrats that feel that way too, right?
Sure.
But I just knew in my gut I wasn't ready to be done. So I told myself I'm going to run again. And I don't mind telling you, I did not work as nearly hard as I should have.
Wow.
I was relying on I had been there 4 years, and I was relying on my party. And at some point, you get there, and you go, "Well, I've been here long enough. Your party's going to jump in." And I learned a very valuable lesson, and that is, you better not rely on anyone.
Yeah.
Because my party had miscalculated, and they thought, "Oh, he has it," and then they took some funding they had for some ads, and they pulled it and put it elsewhere, and then I wound up losing. And I thought, well, you know what? As frustrating as that is, not their responsibility. It's mine.
Right.
Yeah. So I said, I will work as hard as I've ever worked. And if I lose a second time, at least I'll lose knowing, man, I gave it all I had. And if I go home with all I had, then I'm like at peace with it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't give it all I had. I got caught flat-footed waiting on funds that had been committed to my race that got pulled at the last minute by someone else in a different decision-making process that didn't have to feel the impact of winning or losing,
right?
And it just trickled down, and I was the one that dealt with it. And so, but I don't fault that either. It's up to me. It truly is. And so I have worked tremendously hard. You would think as you're there longer, it should get easier.
Right.
It's actually gotten harder for me.
Yeah.
And that's because I am a target. I mean, every gun, not bad.
every metaphorical,
piece of political ammunition comes my way.
Yeah.
Because it's a flippable seat.
Right.
It's been flipped in the past, and so therefore, it can be flipped again. And and that's just part of the deal. But I'm a hard worker. No one will ever rob me of that because I work really, really hard. And so if I do get sent home again, I will do it knowing, man, I worked my tail off. And
the hard work's in those two businesses,
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, with humility, like you said, and you'll congratulate your opponent. But let's hope for those of us that like to wear red that is not the case.
Yeah.
But one thing that I want to ask you, and I'm going to get off the politics subject.
Fine,
I promise.
sure.
I promised myself that I wouldn't ask too many politics questions, and I lied to myself. But but I do think this comes into play in business. You have Republicans, Democrats, and a lot of times, especially from the news media, I feel like it's almost like they portray it like we're against each other. But I'm big on bipartisan type of decisions and kind of finding middle ground with stuff. So you're one of 17 in your county. So can you think of a time where you've worked together with people that are within not your district, but your sphere of influence, if you will, especially being the only Republican, where you came to a consensus together?
I mean, this will sound. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm giving a political answer. I mean, that's the way I live my legislative life. I do it all the time. I mean, I have bills that I'm filing right now where I have actually asked my legislative colleagues out of Mecklenburg County to be on the bill with me. So I have 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I work with the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance, right? I mean, I work with. Yes, there are absolute issues where Democrats and Republicans are going to disagree, and that's the one that the media wants to focus on. What they don't focus on is the hundreds of bills that will get 100 votes, or 120 votes to 0. You never talk about. I have immense respect for everyone in my chamber. There's 120 of us in the House. There's 50 in the Senate. And there are members that I probably disagree with 98% of the time. But I still believe that they're inherently good people. They are there for a reason. They are there for their convictions. And I don't fault them for that. I just might see it differently. I just passed a bill the other night, a bill, it's called Hotel Safety Bill, and the governor vetoed it last session. And so I'm running it again, and I'm ready for his veto. I will override the veto this time, but I don't think he'll veto it, and here's why. I got more Democrats to join me this time, and the reason they joined me was because I really worked hard with the North Carolina Justice Center, which is I would say, more liberal-leaning group, to try to get to a compromise. And we did not reach one, but I tried. I worked in earnest to say, I'm willing to do this, but they actually would not budge. And I'm like, well, hey, if you're not willing to give more, fine. But on the floor, I'm going to make everyone know that I tried my best. And that's not sound bites. That's not just me saying that. It is true. And when I was able to stand up on the floor and look at everybody, Republicans, Democrats, and say, let me tell you, I worked with the Justice Center. I tried to get this. I was willing to make concessions. In the end, they were not willing to make them. And so here we are. And I would just tell you, do what you want, vote for it. I hope you will. Here's why. And I got some Democrat votes because I think they're like, he really did try.
Yeah.
And it's the truth,
figure.
right? And I think that makes for good government. I'm not. What's the harm in trying to reach a compromise? I compromise with my wife, my kids, my employees.
You have to.
So I bring that to Raleigh as well. But I'm also very principled and resolved, and I have no problem telling someone I don't agree. But doesn't mean I want to go eat wings and have a beer with you at night. I will.
Right.
I will. I don't know if we have time for this. My story.
Please,
my very first time ever being a Raleigh as a freshman, there was a guy by the name of Representative Brad Salmon out of, I forget what county he's from. Young guy. We were both. I think I was 38 and he was probably 30. He was probably 30, but a super great guy. And I'm a wing guy. I like to eat wings.
Okay.
Now he's a Democrat. I'm a Republican.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. We were both freshmen.
Right.
So we said, let's go get wings one night. And we did. And we're having wings, just me and him. And one of my colleagues, who's no longer there, this was back then, on my side of the aisle, came up to me and started talking and, was congratulating me and started talking to Representative Salmon. And I, as he was saying more, I realized, I don't think he realizes that this guy's not a Republican.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm listening, and I'm just listening. And so finally, it kind of got to the point of the
and
conversation.
your Democratic colleague's like, wait a minute, what did you say they were?
No, he was just a kind guy, you know. So he's just sitting there, and I'm starting to squirm, like, man, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, goodness gracious, we're just having dinner, man.
Right.
And then he said, so what do you do? And he's like, well, I serve in the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
And this guy was like, huh, you do?
Yeah.
So I'm just watching this develop.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Oh no.
And he's like, yeah. And he's like, but I'm on the other side of the aisle.
Oh boy.
And I just remember because we were sitting down, this person was standing. And another guy's like, okay. He's like, well, welcome. And the conversation ended, right? And so Brad and we had a good laugh about that. And we were just kind of exposed to this idea, can Democrat and Republican not have dinner together?
Right.
Right. And to bring that full circle, that individual kind of had told me later that, that to be very careful and this or that. And I'm kind of like, look, I'm just having dinner, man.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I guess I don't think I'm naive at all. I just think I'm kind of like, hey, let's bring our business to the floor. Let's have it out in debate. Let's vote the way we're going to vote. And then when we leave the chamber, let's get back to what we're doing.
Right.
And you can't get it approved unless they
you have a little bit of agreement.
some.
Yeah. Well, again, just
having dinner, man. Just having dinner, man.
And Brad actually lost he was there one term, and then the next election he got sent home, and I've kind of lost touch with him, but I mean, he would corroborate that story. He'd say, yeah, I remember that, because we had a good chuckle about it.
That's hilarious. Well, we are running out of time.
I know. I'm sorry.
No. You've been such an amazing guest, and thank you so much for taking the time with us today. I do have an interesting question, because I do want to tie this back into business a little bit. So, what have politics taught you about business, and what has business taught you about politics?
Well, I mean, they're very one and the same. I mean, everything is political, right? I mean, Thanksgiving dinner with your family is political anymore, right?
You do not want to do that at my house, just so you know.
And
it's
so,
chaos.
I don't know. I would just tell you that it doesn't cost extra to be kind to people. It doesn't cost extra to laugh. I mean, I try to, I had a nice Slack message the other night from one of my employees, and it just said, "I miss seeing your face around the office. Hope you're well." And that's all it said. And I was like, man, you made me feel so good sending me that message, right? Because I'm not in the office at all.
Right.
I mean, today, after I'm going for a meeting. That's the first time I've been in weeks. So I don't really bring politics into the office ever. We just don't. I think we just don't want to. We don't want to go there. It's not necessary. Let's
church and
focus on what we
state.
do.
Church and state.
I just think it's But even business has its politics within, right? You have different marketing versus sales versus this team versus that team, and so there's the politics of that.
Right.
But to me, it's just communication. You can never over communicate. My goodness, you can never over communicate. And we try to do a lot of cross pollination and say, hey, go to lunch with different groups. Don't sit at the same tables when we're doing things. I wish I had some wonderful needle moving advice. I would just say, treat people the way you want to be treated. Stand for what if you don't stand for anything, then why do it? So take your stand, but understand that the person you're talking to may see it differently, and they probably have their reasons. So take the time to understand it. You may still disagree, but it's okay to say we agree to disagree, and let's go find the areas where we do agree and go work on those. And if we all did that, I think it just in general it'd be a healthier place, healthy work environment, healthy everying. So
I mean, you're not supposed to shut down when somebody disagrees with you,
right?
You're not supposed to, but it is amazing how that works. A lot of hypocrisy out there these days, and no one is pure, right? No one is pure. It goes both ways. It does. It goes both ways, but I love it. I enjoy being an entrepreneur. I enjoy the political aspect. I feel like I have a lot to give, and I don't know. I appreciate you guys. I've been doing this, meeting business owners. One thing about EO is you guys are going to learn is we all have different businesses, but our problems are so similar.
So similar.
And so we're able to share and I don't know. It's been amazing. I mean, I've been in it 15 years and will continue to stay in as long as they'll have me.
It's a wonderful life. That's one thing that we actually often discuss behind closed doors about this podcast is that we have all these crazy different businesses and different motives and people with different viewpoints and stuff. And a lot of the problems they face are similar. A lot of the solutions to those problems they face are similar. And a lot of their ultimate business acumen comes from the same place. Yeah. Some of it's from struggle. Some of it's from success. I mean, it's just been an incredible ride already. Well, we usually close off Business Legends with a funny question, and keep in mind this is just a funny question, okay? So don't take offense to it. But I've been thinking about this. I actually
cut it off if it's too bad.
Yeah, no, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. So when somebody's applying for a job at pet screening, do you have a checkbox that says, "Are you a Republican?" That is it.
Yeah, definitely not. We do not.
So you don't screen your. No, I was kidding.
Yeah, we don't. It's funny. My chief legal counsel, he has reminded me many times that he's to the left of Bernie Sanders.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah,
okay.
Right?
That's pretty far left.
And he's my chief legal counsel and one of my dear friends, and we have worked together now at both. He was with my other company, and he's now our chief legal counsel. And I consider him to be one of my closest friends, and it's a great example. He and I probably. We agree on many things, but there are lots of things we definitely don't agree on, but it's never been an issue.
Right.
I didn't know there was a left to Bernie.
Yeah. Well, that's his point.
I thought he was like the...
I think the way he says it, he says Bernie is to the right of me, right? I'm saying it to the left of Bernie. But and he says it with a smile, and he means it. And but he's our chief legal counsel because when it comes to business, right, we're talking about business issues. And so I can absolutely get along with anybody.
Yeah, reach over and give you a pat on the back. I noticed, and we don't do his marketing, by the way, but I noticed on LinkedIn, whoever's doing your posting for your employees that get hired, they do a really good job because every now and then I'll just randomly see you get a new teammate, and it's usually diverse, inclusive, and they're happy and excited. And it's like
we do a great job of that, and I don't mind sharing with you. We don't have some chart we're checking. We just try to find the best person to do the job and let the cards fall where they may.
Wouldn't that be wild?
I know. Yeah, what a interesting concept, right?
Oh,
and
man.
what has happened is we've developed this. I mean, I think my wife is our HR director. Okay, because she's been with the company since near the beginning, and I think we have. I don't know, 65-70% women in our company. It's just an example, right? But not because we're trying to. It's just the way it's worked out. Yeah. And so I just think good people come in all shapes, sizes, colors, and we just want good, loyal people who are going to work hard and believe and make their mark, like we talked about. And we have it. I am so lucky. I am the luckiest founder and CEO around, and I'm living the American dream. I am. I'm very, and don't get me wrong, I've worked hard to be lucky. Because oh, you're so lucky. I'm like, I've worked hard to be lucky, but this thing is really because of our team.
Lucky slips out, but if you're in the right places at the right time, it's because you're trying to.
That's right. Yeah. And timing does matter, but at the end of the day, I mean, we spend our dollar like it's our last dollar, even when it's not. And I think that's an incredibly important lesson. We are scrappy. I mean, our employees have that now. They think about that. I'm like, as silly as it sounds, like we reuse silverware, we reuse plates, we have a dishwasher. We're just not buying paper plates, throwing them away. Yeah, not because we love the environment, but
right.
we're doing it because it saves money.
Right.
I mean, it's just silly little things, but man, it adds up. And our investors, Alino's, I buy the discount cards at Costco.
Oh, nice.
To use at Alino's in Barcelona.
Yeah, which is one of the best pizza places / burger
They're
places
wonderful,
ever.
wonderful.
Yeah.
But I get 20% off by buying them at Costco.
Oh, wow.
And then I can use it. Why not?
Yeah.
It saves 20%.
Oh, so he's wine and dining us, so 20% off.
Oh, there we go. That's
We're
it.
only 80% important.
80% important to John. No,
Trust me, our team loves it. They're like, God, you really are. Like, you live what you say.
Yeah. Well, that's so important. And we'll tell you some stories about stuff that we do off air. But John, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me. You guys are
getting to know
great. Appreciate you.
And we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Yeah.
So
Come visit anytime. Burger on me.
yep.
Oh,
Thanks.
yeah, in March or April.
Yep.
That's right.